In the previous video, I got the 59 Renault body mounted to my shortened and rebuilt Beetle floor pan, and we established a basic game plan for widening the wheel arches. I reckon it's time we start doing something about it. So I've already bolted the front fenders and the frunk into place so that it will sit where it has to sit, in preparation for starting to work on these widened wheel arches here. I had to do a little bit of a repair here on the hood, frunk, whatever you want to call it, where it had a bit of a kick or a kink. So that's sorted out. This is all bolted into place, can't go anywhere. So we can start working here. So during that previous video, I also discovered that my wheel here is not sitting quite in the center of the wheel arch, as you can see. And I also explained how that came about. So I now need to actually sort this out. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut this whole section out, and then I can move it back. So many of you guys suggested that I move the suspension forward by that required 20mm 3/4 of an inch to solve that. But there's two major problems with doing this. Let me show you what I mean. So the first problem is right here. These are actually body mounts, and they attach directly to the front beam. Now in there is a little piece of pipe welded in to create a bushing that locate on the front beam. So to move the front beam forward, I would actually have to take the body off again, cut that piece of pipe out, move it forward, and re-weld it. And my second problem lies right here. This, so we call it a pocket, provides clearance for the shock towers on the front beam. It actually sits inside this box. So now to move the front suspension further forward, I would have to modify this box, make it wider. Between that and this, that's way too much work, man. I'd rather just mess around with that fender arch and see what I can do there. I'm not going to get into all of this. So I think I'm going to just draw a line here, something. Just want to come down to a sort of a narrow bit there. And then cut it out, something to that effect. And then the same towards the front. Take it down here. I would imagine something to that effect. Got about 2 inches up here. I'm just going to jack it up a bit so we've got some room to work there. Don't want to stick my grinder into my new tire now, do I? Yeah, that should do it. So yes, if you can hear some chainsaw noises in the background, it's because I've got some guys cutting down pine trees here behind my existing shop, because we are planning to expand at one point. Or to put up another barn here, store more junk. Another long-term project. Who knows how long that's going to take.
Ja, het wird.
Right, let's cut the little yellow French car. I guess I forgot my PPE. Where's my safety glasses? Okay, I got this piece here on the table here now, just cut out. Started cleaning it up a little bit. It's quite floppy though. And right here it's actually got a crack. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to stiffen it up with a piece of round bar that I want to stick in here. Maybe 1/4 inch, 6mm. Let's see if I can find a piece. So my piece has currently got this folded edge, and what I'm going to do now to stiffen it up is I'm going to stick in my piece of round bar like this and then hammer it over all the way to make like an, what do you call it, I think a wire edge, I think. Okay, so this piece of 1/4 inch round bar has stiffened it up very nicely now. And it's also a much friendlier edge should a tire ever touch this fender arch. So I'm happy with that. Right, so now before I can do anything else, I need to do something about this floppy business here. I can't bolt it through that flange the way it was, because I cut the flange away to provide clearance for my wheel. So I'm just going to stick a clamp in here to kind of hold it in place. And then I've made up this little bracket. And my plan is now to weld that on there. And then I can stick some bolts in here to hold this thing in place. Okay, so I got my little bracket tacked on here, and I've just screwed it onto this section with these self-drilling bolts. I think they're also known as tech screws. So later on, when I take the fender off, I'm just going to actually insert some riv nuts there so that we can have a better connection. But at least now my fender is firmly attached in this bottom part. I moved the wheel out of the way because I don't want to cut my new rubber. So let's do some slicing and dicing. Okay, hopefully that will do it. Let's turn the steering and see. Yes, now we've got the clearance we want. Awesome. And that's as far as I got before my whole hospital surgery saga stopped play completely. So it's now what, 5-6 weeks later. I haven't been here in all that time, but yeah, I want to slowly start working on the little Renault bike again. And I did get the doctor's blessing. He said it will be good if I start spending some time back up in the shop, get some exercise, strengthen things a bit, Yeah, the tummy muscles are still a little weak, so they can do with a bit of slow exercise. So I'm going to take it easy, but I'm going to start working on this again and take it up where I left it last time. So let's see how it goes. So my next move will be to locate this piece that I've cut out of here previously. I also did strengthen the edge here with some round bar to give it some stiffness. So this needs to sit something like this. I already tacked on this piece of plate here to give me an attachment point. So I've got to decide now exactly where I want this to sit. Something like this. Fine tune it a little bit. Find a way to hold it in place. And once I'm happy with this, the position of this section, then I'm planning to fill in this here with some plate. Yes, so I've been messing with this sliver of metal for quite some time now. Trying to get it exactly the way I want it. Bits of wood, pieces of metal, clamps, whatever it takes. I want it to sit just right. It must be practical as well, so I need clearance for the wheel and for the suspension travel. But I think I've got it now where I want it. Let me show you. So if you look at it from the front, this edge kind of blends in here, and then it comes out just past the edge of the wheel, so that when the suspension moves, the wheel can actually move in underneath, so that I have clearance for my suspension travel. Of course, the plan is going to be now to put in some metal like this, but we'll get to that. If you look at it here from the back, it's the same kind of dealio. We kind of move in and we blend into this point here by the door. I did give it a little bit of a reverse curve here, because I think that will actually look quite nice. I need to fine tune a little bit. And yes, I had to do even some relief cuts. I don't know if you can see them. Just get my curve right. So this one is still a bit wonky. I need to sort that one out. But here's a better view of those relief cuts. Just to sweeten my curve here and get it nice. And you can see this one still overlaps a little bit, so I need to cut it a little bit more. Same thing here up front. Couple of relief cuts just to sweeten that curve. So I'm talking about this edge in relation to the tire. I don't know, the camera might distort it a little bit, but it's looking pretty good to me with the bare eye here. I might have to still fine tune it a little bit here and there. Maybe a little bit more backwards. Okay, so I'm just going to tack in a bunch of little round bar braces here now, like this, all along, just to keep this edge piece in place and make sure it's not going to go anywhere. Okay, I don't think that's going to go anywhere anymore. Take off my little clamps here now. Yeah, that's nice and strong. I think I want this to tip in a little bit more. Just going to bend it a little bit. Yeah, that's not going anywhere. So now I can start working on this story here. I think I actually want to kind of edge this with a bit of round bar. Let's see. I got a piece of 8mm round bar that I found here on my shelf. That's 5/16 for my Imperial friends. So okay, easy does it. My wound is still pulling a little bit, but I do need to exercise it. So I'm just going to bend this up now so we can get it on that curve. That's not a really good curve, but let's work it a little bit. Oh, quite a bit more, eh? Okay, I'm just going to fine tune this a little bit more. Get that curve nice. And then we'll take it from there. I think I might have to go and stick it in a vise. Work it a little bit more. Right, I'm just going to fine tune this a little bit more so that you got a nice match, and then we'll take it from there. So if I edge this with the round bar, it's going to help me sort out this wavy, wonky edge and even it out nicely. And if we look at the drawing in section of what I'm about to do, here's the piece of round bar, and there's my two pieces of sheet metal. So it's also going to allow me for a nice larger radius, which would look nice. If I were to just join the two pieces of sheet metal together, I won't get as much of a radius on that corner. So I prefer this. And it's going to make it a lot stronger as well. Okay, so I'm busy tacking on my piece of round bar. I started from there and I'm working my way along. Clamping, tacking, making sure it's all good and nicely lined up.
Hour later.
Busy making up a template here so I can have a pattern for this piece that I need for filling in. Yeah, some stiff cardboard, pair of scissors, lots of snipping and checking and testing. This English language is a strange one, eh? I mean, some of you might know it's not my mother tongue. And this is called a pair of scissors. So if it's a pair, what would one scissor be then? just half of it. Pair normally indicates two things, like a pair of socks. There's two of them and you can have one sock and a pair of socks. I guess a pair of pants is also problematic. I'm looking for my pant, which would be just half a leg or something. So anyway, I think I've got my template established. Still needs to be cut back here a little bit. But I can do that when I take it off. And this edge is nice. I'm going to have to take the paint off along this line. Like so. And yeah, I've just created two reference lines for myself so that I can put it back the same that I had it every time. So I'll leave these two lines and then I will actually also mark these two lines on my metal piece that I'm going to cut out so that when I put it in here I can reference it. So let me get this thing off here so I can go and cut it out from a piece of 18 gauge sheet metal, 1.2 mil. Yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, when this is being welded in, I will be removing this temporary bracing here. And then once I've welded this piece in, I will actually take the fender off, turn it over, and I can cut this piece back. But I'll only do that once I've fitted and welded this piece. So I use 18 gauge 1.2 millimeter sheet metal for just about everything I do. Now there's obviously a bunch of different methods in which you can cut this stuff. You can use shears, either pneumatic like this one or electric. You could use a nibbler, which I haven't got. You could use snips, although cutting 18 gauge with snips is a little bit of a struggle. You could even use a plasma torch. But my preferred method is the grinder with one of those thin 1 millimeter cutting discs. I believe zip discs is another popular term out there. I just find with accurate scribe lines, or good scribe lines rather, you can cut very accurately with a grinder, and doing curves is not a problem either. So that's my preferred method. I'd love to have a Beverly shears. I dream about one, but finding those things out here in South Africa is basically impossible. I could import one, but that will be very expensive, and that's currently not within my resources. So I'll keep dreaming. So I buy my discs in bulk. There's 100 pieces in this pile right here, and I pay 9 South African rands for one. That works out to about half a US dollar a pop. So at that price, I'm not scared to use them. In fact, I just received my bulk order on flap discs as well, and face-off discs. I've got 100 of P40, 100 P80, and 50 of these face-off discs. I love to use these for cleaning off rust. They work really well. So these ones, I pay 15 rands each, which is about 82 US cents. And the face-off discs, 65 rand a pop, which is about $3.57. So if you also want to buy these, and you are here in South Africa, I get them from a mate called Carl Masker, who imports them directly. I'm going to put his email address up here on the screen, and I'll also have it in the description. You're very welcome to contact him if you want to put in an order. He's got stock. The next shipment might be a little different in pricing, or depends on the exchange rate at the time. And I'm pretty sure you don't have to order such big quantities. So if you're interested and you live in South Africa, yeah, please contact Kyle and he'll sort you out. And tell him Uncle Duff sent you, the OG in the forest. So I reckon you will agree with me if I say that I'm now stocked up again for quite some time. Well, you know, given the recent events, if you know, you know, I do qualify to take breaks often and frequent the staff restroom on a regular basis. I don't want to overstretch myself currently so that we can heal properly. But like I said, doctor's orders, don't just lie around, get up there, do some stuff. And yeah, just to be clear, all of this is not happening in one go. I'm actually spending several days on this. I just come up here to the workshop for maybe an hour or two in the mornings. Then I go back down to the house, take it easy, rest a little bit, lie down. And maybe I pop back up in the afternoon for another hour or two. So yeah, it's taking a good couple of days. But I'm just going to take it easy. You know, what's the saying? Does a mouse eat an elephant? One tiny bite at a time. Okay, well then, let's get back to it and take the surface rust off this piece. Okay, let's see. This piece needs to sit about there somewhere. Yeah, I think we need to curve this fellow a little bit. Just bend it up a bit. That's what knees are for. Going to need more than that. So a little bit more in this area. Maybe the same here. Let's try it again. Yeah, I guess that's kind of close enough. I'm going to just fiddle with it a little bit, get some clamps on it, and then we take it from there. I got my original reference marks here, so I'm just going to line that up. Start with a clamp right here in this area, and I'm going to work my way along with a couple more clamps. Yeah, it doesn't look bad at all. A little bit of a gap right here. If I press down there, it closes up. I think I might just actually take off a little bit right here, which will sort that out. Something like that. Bit of a gap down here, but it actually looks like it's a bit of a dent in the fender. If I pull it out, yeah, then it closes up. So I reckon that looks pretty good. And then you probably can't see it on camera, but right here, it's a gap of about, I wonder if it's 2 mil. So Not really something to worry about. But there's a bit of a high spot right here, so seeing as I've got to take it off anyway, just going to take off a little bit in that area. Yeah, and as for the rest of it, it's a pretty damn good fit. So I'm just going to pop it off quickly, so I can trim those few spots. And let me try again. Take off a little bit right here. And a little bit right here. And right here at the end, a wee bit as well. Yeah, now I wonder if that's enough. Tricky business. I think I just screwed it up a little bit. I better straighten it up again. Oh, it's hot. I sorted out my little boo-boo, clamped it back into place, and I'm very happy with the fit now. We are making progress. So the last thing I must do before I can finally weld this piece in place is to cut back this edge that's still overlapping. So I'm going to scribe it here like that, and then cut it back from that line maybe another 4 or 5 millimeters, so that it will sit just right on that piece of round bar that I installed. So off one more time and back on the table, and if you look carefully you can see that scribe line there. So I'm just going to cut it back to that line. And clamped back into place again, because I just want to confirm that we are sitting nice and flush here, which we are. I checked it all the way through, and now I still want to cut it back another, well, half the diameter of basically of my piece of round bar that's in there. I used 8mm round bar, so I'm going to cut this back now another 4mm to expose that bit of round bar. Yeah, I know, it's a bit of a mission, eh? But I think it'll be worth it. Duffy, last time you're taking it off, my brother. Last time. I'm just going to cut that edge back now, about 4mm, and then it's going to be final fitment. Got my marking gauge set to 4mm, so now I can describe a parallel line here, cut that piece off, and then we will be good. The last time I clamped this piece on here, yes man, and now you can see that round bar exposed, which is what I've wanted all along. So I can now start gluing this thing together, finally. Okay, so I've already given it a tack here in the middle, and now here's my game plan. I'm going to give it a tack there, and there, there, and there, and work my way out simultaneously towards the ends that way and that way. I just kind of feel that if I do it that way, yeah, the heat energy, equalizing that and working it slowly along will just be the best way to go about it. Yeah, and I think I'm going to do exactly the same on this edge. So let's do it. That's a freaking hole.
Damn it.
Look man, I burnt a bloody hole on this one here. I tell you, the tin on this Renault is so thin. And yeah, you do need a bit of heat, you know, for this fillet weld, although it's just a tack. And I think I actually sort of positioned my heat incorrectly. If you understand what I'm trying to say, you should actually aim your torch more towards the new metal, like I've got here. So yeah, it's not like I've never done this before. So we'll fix it, but yeah, it's just not nice when it happens, eh? But I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I can't be the only one who's doing this sort of thing. I think most guys just don't show it. This is what I mean. Instead of sort of aiming your torch at about 45 degrees to that corner, just aim it a little bit more towards the new metal, which in this case is also a little bit thicker than the original, and that just works a little bit better. So now I've got to go through the slow process of welding this whole business together, and here's my thoughts on how I go about it. I made a quick little sketch here. We've got the new piece there overlapping the existing fender, pretty much something like that. So I'm going to crank my amps up quite a bit so I can get the best possible penetration here. And then also the angle of my MIG gun or torch, what do you call it? I want to angle it more like this, so that my heat is more going into that kind of double layer of metal right there. If I had to sitting like this with the high amps, it's going to burn a hole. Don't want that. And then with the higher amps, I'm going to also do this. I'm just going to start a little bit away from my existing tack, and then move it and weld into the existing tack. You know, when you start, it's still, relatively speaking, the weld is still cold, then it starts heating up. And yeah, by the time the heat is almost maybe too much, I'm getting to the existing tack, which is added metal, and it will help to absorb that heat, if that makes any sense. So just a short little run like this, then one there, then one there, then one there, and so on, and slowly working my way sort of equally along this edge to the ends. Like this, man. I didn't want to flash you with the actual welding, so I just did these short little runs, as you can see, and I'll just do another one into the existing one, into the existing one, into the existing one, and keep at it, slowly but surely, working my way along, not letting it heat up too much and letting it cool down in between until it's fully done.
Much later.
Right, I got this whole thing welded up, and I tell you, my welds are looking absolutely disgusting. But this old Renault steel, it's been giving me endless headaches. Well, that's my excuse anyway, and I'm sticking to it. Luckily, I'm pretty damn good with a grinder. Okay, most of my grinding is done. It's pretty nice here. It's not that perfect here in the fillet weld. But if you do want the trailer queen finish, it'll actually take very little filler to make this as smooth as glass. But as some of you guys might know, in my world, life is too short to be sanding Bondo, man. And here, rust is the great equalizer. So a really good way to grind that fillet weld right in there is to actually use a fresh flap disc, and then that actually works very well to work right into that corner, something like this, and then also from that side, and then you can get very nice results if you just work carefully and evenly and smoothly. I tell you, a fair bit of all this welding has now ended up on the floor as metal dust. Okay, so now I can take this fender off to cut out the bracing and sort out the inside. So let's get it off. Okay, I got this fender here on the table now, so that I can cut out these temporary braces, and then I must also cut back, or rather cut out this overlapping section that you see here that is still from the original fender. So I've got to cut out this overlapping section right here next to the weld seam very carefully. I mean, there's not much space there, and I don't want to cut into my new section. So yes, I'm going to have to be extremely careful. Right, so seeing as this is the inside that you can't see, I'm not going to worry too much about grinding it. You might as well just keep that welding to give it extra strength. So I'm just going to knock off the sharp edges, and then we can call it good enough. The last thing I did here on the inside was to add these light tacks on either side of my round bar there. Probably not necessary, but hey, it just makes me feel better. I'd rather have it strong than not. So let's quickly install these riv nuts that needs to go here before I fit the fender again. And yes, whilst my hands went quite sterile while I was in hospital, they are now quickly getting some character again. So we are paying the price. So I'm just going to open this hole to the correct size. And now we can install our riv nut. Squeeze! and squeeze. There we go, that should do it. Fantastic. My little bolt canal ready in right there. That will make for a proper connection. Much better than what I had, that was just temporary. So let's get this fender back on here so we can see what it's going to look like. Alright, I've just got to mess with some bolts and then we'll take it from there. How about it? It's done. Love it or hate it, and call it what you like. Wheel arch extension, fender, flare, wide body kit, or wings to make you fly. But I like it. I'm also starting to like the no nonsense look of no hubcaps as well. Still have the hubcap there on the back. But yes, we do have the option to fit those. And I don't know, we might even do a bit of a pinstripe here at some point. That's what it looks like here from the front. I think it came out pretty damn good. And here's what it looks like from the back. So this door line here is not perfectly lined up, but the door still needs adjusting. I need to get some rubbers in there, then we can fine tune that. But yeah, I think it's cool. Look, it's not perfect by any means. There's a few little dings and bumps. But then I don't claim to be a coach builder or a body man. For me this is good enough. But yeah, if you are that way inclined, it will not take much filler to get this whole thing as smooth as glass. But like I said, in my world, life is not too short to be sanding Bondo. And now of course I've got to repeat the whole process there on the other side. At least now I know the journey, so it will go a little bit quicker than this one.
Much later.
And through the magic of YouTube, the other side is now instantly in place as well. I mean, you did not really want to watch me do all of that again now, did you? So yes, are they exactly the same shape? It's very unlikely. But then you can't see both side views at the same time, so it doesn't matter. As long as the view from the front here is more or less the same on each side, yeah, then we're good enough. I'm sure if you stare at it long enough, you might find some differences, but I don't care. So yes, I guess I will get some yellow paint on here at some point so it can just blend in. Nothing fancy, just going to try and match the patina a little bit. You know me, I'm not into fancy paint jobs. The paint here is in perfect condition as far as I'm concerned. Remember, shiny paint just causes stress, man. Cool, so that's phase one of fat fendering. The little Renault bug here. Phase two will be the back fenders. But now I've just got to go for a scan. Now this type of scan has been introduced to me by a brother called Rick Sullivan in the US of A. I've actually tried them as well and I come highly recommended. Rick is also a member of the Cancer Survivor Club. So thanks for pointing me in the right direction, Rick. I appreciate it, brother. So in this case, SCAN is actually an abbreviation for Senior Citizen Afternoon Nap. So for all of you guys with a grey beard out there, It does come in really handy. Hey, listen, you oaks. Thank you very much to all of you who've been subscribing to my channel and commenting and liking my videos. Appreciate it. You know, I've made 292 videos and I've never, ever recited that cliched YouTube prose. You know, the one where they go, please like, share, subscribe, comment, hit notifications, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, I kind of feel that it's an insult in a way. I might be wrong, but I'm sure that if you like the content, you'll do those things anyway. So thanks for hanging out with me out here in my shop. I enjoyed your company. I will see you in the next video when we tackle the back fenders. Until then, have a lucky one, my brothers.
Whatever makes you happy, it just depends on you. So think a little bigger and